So I'm going to now move to your muse and your inspiration. So, I've seen pictures of Winston, your basset hound, on Facebook, and he is just so adorable. I can also understand, why he would be the muse for your book, because he's just so perfect. And I have to make a special mention for this, but being someone who has dogs myself, the one thing I really, really liked when I read your books was how you described Winston, his nose and his ears, and why does it work. So most people actually don't know why basset hounds have such big ears, right? The fact that it ears up the air and all of that. So that was really cool. That was also educational, because it actually teaches, a child why certain things are, or why animals are the way they are, and you learn to appreciate the fact that big ears are not just big ears, but much more than that. So I'm going to come to the next question that I have for you, which is, could you tell us why you chose him as your main character? What is the story behind your books? Why do you write stories?
Well, this is a little personal too, with why he's such a good fit. Winston is perfect because he's not perfect.
And I think it's I think it's perfect that we're talking about Winston and dogs, and I have my pack going, bow, bow.
Yes,
I don't know if you can hear them.
So, yes. It's absolutely adorable. But Winston is perfect because he's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to tell my daughter all the time that when you fall in love, you don't fall in love with someone's perfection.
Mm-hmm.
You fall in love with their imperfections.
Right.
Because that is what makes them unique.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter was on the heavy side going through school, and I didn't always realize it, because she was one of those lucky people that wore her extra weight all over, and I just thought she was beautiful. But, bullying is an issue nowadays, and my problem is, and what I felt very guilty about, is I did not know that Caitlin was bullied until it was too late to instill what you need to compete or defend yourself against bullying. And out of all the research that I read on bullying, the strongest defense is a sense of self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And, I used to say to her all the time, when someone picks on you, you just go, whatever. Because if they don't get to you, they're going to move on. But I didn't talk to her early on about bullying. You think it happens in middle school or whatever. Now, when I looked at Winston and I looked about everything we talked about, how he's perfect because he's not perfect, I thought he is the perfect character to create a conversation with parents and children. Winston has these really big ears and people make fun of him, or he's got this huge snout. But look how he uses what would typically be looked at as a flaw to his advantage. Because each of us is different, and each of us might have behaviors or interests or appearances that other people think are funny.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to learn how that makes us unique, so that we can, instead of looking at it as, I'm upset with you, look at your uniqueness as a way of making friends and turning those things around. But by introducing it early, I thought it could create a discussion. Or do you ever feel different, like Silly Willy Winston does? Does anyone ever, make you uncomfortable because, you have an attribute? And how do you handle it? Do you know anybody else that might be different, that kids, just, and then parents can be what parents are, the good teachers. If the communication opens up, they can take it from there and use that conversation point to educate children on, tolerance, self-acceptance, self-discovery, self-love, and love and friendship of others. So there's really a lot behind these books, and it's hard to put in a little synopsis,
It is. it's really nice. I mean, and I can see that there's so much thought. So it's not just about. I mean, a lot of times I think people think that just how difficult can it be to write a children's book, because you think of it like telling a child a tale, but there is so much thought. And I realize, when I think back to the stories my grandmother told me, because I think it's grandparents who tell more stories than parents do.
This is true.
And I think back, and today, I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't really understand and appreciate how much thought she put into every story that she told me. But today, when I look back and when I'm listening to you, I realize that there's so much thought to it. It's not just, it's not just a story. There is so many layers and so much that you're actually telling people, right?